Okay, welcome back. Talking about brakes again today. This is part 7. We're talking about bleeding brake components, and more specifically, we're really going to talk about bleeding ABS pumps because it can be very tricky and very frustrating. Okay, we're going to talk about bleeding ABS pumps, kind of a general procedure. Bleeding ABS pumps on different vehicles and models, as well as OBD1, which, if you remember, that's onboard diagnostics, generation 1. So that'd be like 95 and older vehicles. And then how do you bleed ABS if you don't have a scan tool? Because there are some kind of hillbilly ways that are not recommended, but not everyone has a scan tool. So you need to know about that. So remember, you need to bleed an ABS pump if you introduce air at all into the pump. And the way you do that is typically by replacing a brake line that's in front of the ABS pump or between the master cylinder and the ABS pump. Or if you replace the master cylinder, that's going to have air in it. It's going to push that air right into the pump. Maybe you disconnected a line at the pump. Maybe you disconnected a line at a wheel and you left it unhooked for 3 days and it drained all the fluid out of the whole system. A lot of ways you could get air into the pump, but what you need to do, make sure you know how to do, is get it out of the pump. So here's a good video. This is just kind of an intro video. This is a just a couple minutes, shows you kind of what it's like when you're bleeding an ABS pump with a scan tool. So go ahead and watch that now. All right. So we're going to talk about some different ways of bleeding ABS pumps. And what I like to do is show different makes and models because there's quite a few flavors on how to do this. We're going to start with one of the easiest of all, a Dodge truck. It's very straightforward. So, but really what you need to know is always check the manual. It's different for all these vehicles. Sometimes it's kind of tricky. Just check the manual. Again, you may have to use a scan tool. So 2009 Dodge pickup. 3-step process, and the pickup follows the Dodge follows this. A lot of other manufacturers follows this. Ford does, Toyota sort of does, some Hondas sort of do, but just remember this. This will help you for the test. First, you bleed all 4 wheels like you would normally. Then you bleed the ABS pump with a scan tool, and the scan tool will tell you what to do. Just follow directions. Then you bleed all 4 wheels again. If you remember that 3-step process, that will get you through most vehicles. Now, there's some weird ones, and we're going to talk about that, but just remember those 3 steps, and you're going to have to name those on the test. All right, so 09 Dodge. Notice, first thing they're going to tell you, perform base bleeding. Bleed the brakes like you normally would. Hook a scan tool up, select anti-lock brakes, and bleed them with the scan tool. And then perform the base brake bleeding a second time. Okay, again, 3-step process. Keep remembering that. Okay, let's try another super common vehicle they made a billion of, 2009 Ford Explorer. Again, connect the scan tool. Notice, however, it's a little bit different because it says do it twice. So it's basically the same as the Dodge procedure. Actually, it'd be identical to the Dodge procedure, except they say do it again after you've already done it once. They really want to make sure you get all the air out. Okay. So again, super short procedures, right? I mean, we're talking no more than 5 steps so far on these. How about a Toyota? 09 Toyota RAV4. So again, it's kind of follows the 3-step, but there's a couple variations. So for Toyota, they say, first of all, you need to press the brake pedal at least 20 times with the engine off. Why do you do that? Because when you pump the brakes on a vehicle with the engine shut off, on many vehicles, you actually relieve all the pressure out of the ABS pump. What that does is it makes them safer to work on. Obviously, Toyota thinks it's going to help you get air out. I don't understand the physics behind that, but if you have a car turned off and you pump the brakes a bunch of times, you will relieve the pressure in the ABS pump. And it does make them safer to take apart if you're ever going to service them internally. And then notice they say, just bleed the right wheels when you're bleeding the ABS. So we didn't show it on the screen, but before all this, they want you to bleed all 4 wheels normally. And then they're telling you this. Now, when you bleed the ABS, you're just going to bleed the right wheels. So it doesn't follow the three-step process. It's kind of similar to it, but you're only doing the right-hand wheels. Kind of odd, but they must know what they're doing. My personal favorite, the 09 Chevy. I hate to pick on Chevy, but gosh, it's kind of crazy what they have here. They not only require you to have a scan tool, you must also have the J35589A tool to connect to the vehicle, which is $800. After tax, about $900. There is no other option in the manual. There's no manual method. Some manufacturers list both. Chevy doesn't give you that option. You have to buy this tool according to them to properly bleed the ABS system. Not just that, but I would encourage you, you can't do it here in this presentation if you're watching this, but if you click on this icon, you'll actually get the Silverado ABS bleed procedure. It's 81 steps long, 8-1. Remember, the Ford and the Dodge were no more than 5. Okay, here's an example of how crazy it gets for Chevy. Where I just showed you, I'm just showing you steps 37 through 40. They're saying loosen, but do not disconnect one of the brake pipe fittings on the master cylinder. And for 15 to 20 seconds, then retighten it and then loosen, but do not disconnect the second one, 15, 20 seconds. Okay, oh, but wait, if you didn't get that all done within 50 seconds, because you're on the clock, you got to repeat it. This is just a quick sample of how crazy their procedure is. So just hope you don't ever have to bleed ABS pump on a early 2000s Chevy truck. Let's try a Honda, 05 Honda Civic. 05, the only reason I picked 05 is because there's a student in class that has one. So God bless Honda. Take a look at this. There is no ABS bleed procedure for Honda for this model anyway. It just tells you bleed brakes in a conventional manner. That's it. And we're even under the ABS bleeding section, and there isn't an ABS bleed procedure. It's that great. So again, wonderful. Good work, Honda. So let's kick it back to OBD1 era and let's go 96, 95 and older about. And what you're going to find is that many of the cars, their ABS pumps back then, you know, they kind of knew that there wasn't a scan tool that could take over the ABS pump, or most people couldn't afford it. A lot of mechanic shops couldn't afford that. So they actually put bleed screws on the pump. And you'll notice I have arrows pointing to them. You can crack those open and have someone pump the pedal in the car, and it will actually push air out of the pump right through those bleed screws. And there's actually even a couple other bleed screws on this that are hidden in this photo, but it's pretty neat. So you actually don't have to have a scan tool in theory to do these old ones. Here's a quick video. Watch it from 250 to about 415. Just shows you a little more about them. Okay. So now you know the proper way to bleed a lot of different ABS pumps. So now let's get into a little bit of the hillbilly method, because not all of us own a scan tool. I don't have a scan tool at home, just at work. So some other ways. Okay, so what if it requires $2,000 scan tool and I don't own one? You need to force the ABS to kick on, force it to engage, because when the ABS engages, it will pump fluid out to the wheels. When it pumps fluid out to the wheels, it's going to carry that air with it that's trapped in the pump. So if you can force ABS to engage, you can get the air out, at least a lot of it, maybe not all of it. So what you could do is, of course, you can take it to a mechanic or dealer that has the scan tool, and you can pay the money and, you know, maybe 150, 250 bucks, and you can let them bleed it for you. That's an option, right? You can also drive down a gravel road and make what they call panic stops, which is go down the gravel road, smash the pedal, get on an icy road, that works too, snow, smash the pedal and let the wheels, you know, lock up and unlock and lock up and unlock. The ABS pump will push some air out that way. You can also put it on a lift or put it up on jacks, put it in drive, and then pump the brakes. That's probably the most dangerous one, not recommended, but again, it can work. Of course, don't forget to re-bleed all the wheels after you do any of that stuff. Okay. we just covered ABS pumps today because they can kind of give you a headache. So I'm going to leave it at that and have a good day.